All right, Bridget, how are you?
I'm fine. How you doing, Susie?
I'm great. Hey, we are getting our Facebook Live on again, and I'm really excited about this one, talking about how to raise children who are celebratory of diversity and kids who are a little bit more accepting and inclusive, which I think is something that we all need to be teaching, especially right now. So, thanks for joining us to talk about this.
I'm happy that I'm here to be able to talk to you today.
So, even adults have a really difficult time sometimes. Even now, if you read through social media, some of the back and forth is so charged, and talking about race is a difficult thing just for adults, adult to adult. So when it comes to talking to your own children about it, it's sometimes equally as hard. um, what what and when is the right time for me to start talking to my kids about race and about some of the issues that we're seeing here in society? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but
Well, number one, I would definitely say that when things occur, there's always a good time to talk about those things and not just sweep it under the rug or act like it's not happening. So if things are happening and your kids are exposed to those things, then don't be afraid to talk to them because they've already been exposed. So you want your values to be part of the narrative, right? Uh, Also, you want to make sure that you answer their questions. If they come to you and begin to question what's going on or why is this happening or I have questions, then be okay to sit down and talk with them. Third, I would say that you need to see yourself as your child's teacher, which you are, their primary teacher. And a good teacher knows their stuff. Ask any teacher in any school. And so I would say that, assess your own self. Where are you with your own biases, your own judgments, your own diversity? And then look into defining what that is. Uh, what is the definition of that? How many of us really look that up? We throw that word around a lot, but do we really know what that means?
mm-hmm.
And how does that coincide with our own values and our own vision about diversity? And then I think you can have a meaningful conversation with your kid and figure out what part do they play in this, diversity conversation that we're going to have with them. So I would do those three things first. If they're being exposed, don't ignore it, address it. If they ask you questions, be open, be honest. And number three, do your due diligence and do some work ahead of time on your own viewpoints and also the views of others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've had a difficult time, with my older children. It's been some really great thought provoking discussions, and it's been really interesting kind of how far we've grown as a family through this and through talking through this. But with my 7-year-old, it's different, and I sometimes feel like I'm leaving her out of the conversation because it's over her head and she doesn't understand a lot of the history, and so what are some good ways, Bridget, for me to work her into that conversation that's age appropriate and still helps her learn along with us?
Great question, Susie. And a lot of parents are asking that right now. And I would say a good way to start with younger children, our kids, is maybe start with a book. You and I were talking before we, started our chat about the book, Making Friends is an Art, or the Judgmental Flower, which is in the Boytown Press. And I think that's a great way to start those conversations by reading the book with your child, having your child read the book to you, and then talking about those characters that appear in the story and how that might also fall into what might be happening in today's world and what the people in today's world can take away from the book. That's saying
Mm-hmm.
what we could be doing differently in order to not be so judgmental or in order to be able to get along with other people that are not like us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would start with a book. A movie is a great way to do that. a little maybe older kid, there's some great diversity movies. The Ugly Doll, I thought was really a good one. If you haven't seen that movie,
Hmm.
it talks about these dolls who are not like everybody else and not considered to be pretty, and how they in that society don't are not accepted. And so that might be a great way to kind of start that conversation with kiddos. They will understand that from that point of view.
Hmm.
Mhm. Don't talk over their head. Use the tools that are that are appropriate for their age.
Hmm. Yeah, it's hard because I feel like you want them to continue to kind of see the world the way they see the world, and
Mhm.
so you don't want to introduce things that will you know change that perception. But eventually they'll get older and they need to, I think, understand the power of kindness and inclusion, and so while they might
Yeah.
just naturally have it, it's hard to
Yeah, I think that, of course, we want children to have, a carefree life when they're younger. However, social media and media in general are just really exposing our kids and ourselves and what's happening worldwide. It's just, you can't hide from it. And I would rather start while children are young and
hmm
teach them about inclusion and tolerance, and not wait till they're older to begin those conversations. Because I think that when you have a younger child who has that embedded in them, they have to be carefully taught. And so if
hmm
their teachers and we're teaching that very young, I think that is something they won't walk away from when they're older, because those values are there. So
right.
I really am an advocate for those conversations happening at young ages, because I think little kids get it. They're like, yeah, you should be nice to people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And they don't have any of those issues until you put that in their mind.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But you can also, let me ask you, activities. Susie, I know you do a lot of things with your kids. Your kids are always busy. They're so creative. I'm always
Well, they drive
just
me
so
crazy if they're not busy. So.
that's a good thing. But I think that kids learn by doing most of all, right? They're highly kinesthetic. And so I would say that, it's great to read the book. It's wonderful to watch the movie, but getting kids involved in acts of kindness, of consideration, of
Hmm.
inclusion, whether you go out to Cinco de Mayo, or you eat a food that's different from, someone else, or you help out uh, in your community by including other people. I think that would be very important. Or doing acts of kindness under pressure. That's the thing that we don't talk about a lot. Being kind when the pressure's on. We can be kind, we can help people out when we're, focused on doing that. But to be kind when it's not convenient to do so. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say your kiddo's at school or somebody's being bullied. A lot of the bystanders don't say anything because they're scared. They don't want to, being brave enough to go get help, or to say this is wrong, or to band together as a group to say, to be kind to the person who's being abused or neglected or left out. I think teaching your kid those kind of techniques and
Hmm.
putting it in their life, recognizing that it's there all the time. We just tend to not want to see it or not see it,
Hmm.
and not turn away from those opportunities to be kind under pressure.
Hmm. And to stand up for people. That's, yeah, so relevant right now.
Hmm.
So on that note, you know, speaking out, I know, is one social skill that we teach here at Boys Town. What are some other good social skills that I can be teaching my kids? Just on this topic, and it to be more inclusive and to be more helpful. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think Boys Town is one of the greatest places that I've worked at that really teaches children the art of communication. Um, and they put it in these wonderful social skills, uh, like being able to be considerate for others. You
mhm.
know, really the step by step of how to be considerate to other people,
Right.
how to appropriately disagree with someone you don't agree with. How do you do that? Things like how to respect other people, how
Mm-hmm.
to stay calm, in situations when someone's pushing all of your buttons.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are things that we're seeing that kind of breaking down in other places and all over the country, all over the world for that matter. And these wonderful little social skills being taught to children here on our Boys Town campus uh, are exactly what we want the entire world to take part in, because
Right.
those are the building blocks towards society: being able to appropriately disagree, stay calm,
Mm-hmm.
be considerate, respectful for other people, so on and so forth. So yeah, we have a great book. Um, here it is. I have them all in my house. Okay, so
Of course.
teaching social skills to youth, a great book. We have a lot of different kinds for kids with special needs, or kids very young, or kids who are teenagers. You can get it from the library. Not trying to push those books, but if you don't know where to go, you don't know where to start, there's plenty of opportunities, whether it's Boys Town or some other agency, for parents to get help.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes as a parent, you standing up for yourself, I think, is a great skill that we've got in our social skills book. And I think a lot of times we say things like, well, you need to stand up for yourself, or, well, you need to advocate for yourself, but we don't often break down and you do that by doing this, and this, and practicing that with the child, and then role playing that with the child, so that when they're in this situation, they feel comfortable. That's one of the
Yeah.
things I love that Boys Town does with the social skills is, it's kids get it and they understand and they're able to actually put it into action.
Yeah, kids learning about what is the difference between being aggressive and being assertive. We want
Mm-hmm.
you to be assertive. We want you to tell us what's on your mind, what you're feeling, and there's a way to do that. I was walking the campus this afternoon, trying to get my steps in. And I was saying, on our campus in the 35 years that I've worked there, never seen anybody write on walls or destroy anything. And it's because a couple of things are happening on that campus. One is that we're teaching those kids those social skills so that they can be able to communicate their feelings and their frustrations to others, and to adults, and to power,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the same time, everybody on that campus, all the adults on that campus, are held to the ideal of respecting those children, of being fair, those kind of things. We give that to each other, we give it to the
Mm-hmm.
kids, and everybody understands that. And so when you can have a society like that, who is respecting, then you have less of that, conflict and aggressive behavior. And I think our mayor, our young, wonderful mayor, if you saw his speech this week in the Boys Town, did a nice job of, sharing with us his views and concerns about what's happening in the world at that very young, tender age, and telling all of us we should stay calm and how to respond to what's going on. And then Boys Town giving him that venue, giving him that opportunity to speak. That's a beautiful and wonderful thing that we need more of out here in the world, right?
Agreed. Well, and you mentioned activities as a family to get involved and or to learn, I guess. And what are some activities where we can be in situations where there's just a greater cultural mix of people, or I mean, again, if we're teaching those social skills, give me an example of some situations or activities. I know on our website we talk about volunteering as a way to provide more cultural experiences for your kids. I don't know, what other ideas do you have?
No, I think volunteering is great. I know with the whole COVID thing, getting out and about, one thing that I did with my kids is travel. When you travel to other countries and you travel to other places and you really experience those cultures, you really have a true understanding of things versus just reading about. But because we are in COVID-19, that has kind of hindered us. So maybe a neat way to do that at first is start at home, okay? So maybe you create a little trivia cards,
Yeah.
and you have the kids look up some information on something they didn't know, and then they all come to dinner with their trivia question and see if anybody there can answer. this guy made this, and who is he? And they can just, and whoever gets the most answers, gets a wonderful snack or a prize, or I don't know, whatever it is you want to do, or they're just the winner. Right. But I think, starting out to learn more. I mean, what I've learned by doing that trivia activity with my kids when they were little, because I couldn't find when they were little, 20-something years ago, books, very many books. So I had to be the one to search out, information, and then play games so they would want to be interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it was just that trivia, question at dinner time. And by the end of the year, I had so I could, be able to talk. So when you take your kids out to Cinco de Mayo, maybe you're just going to study a little, what is that besides the great food? Or, if I go to a Juneteenth activity, what is that about and why is it there? So, I think it's important to talk to kids ahead of time, have them, do a little bit of research, maybe just in a trivia game, make it fun. That's the big thing. Try to make it fun.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. Guess who's coming to dinner? I think that since we're letting people in and out, whether you, do it virtually or someone actually does come to your house, have diverse people come to your home so that they can get to know somebody from someplace else, or that somebody who does something else or that works with other people might be the way to go. I think, as much as they can talk to other people from other cultures, they'll get, more exposure.
Yep.
Try to give kids the opportunity, offer them as many opportunities to think diversely. Not only how it affects them, but how might this affect somebody else in the same situation?
Yeah.
You don't have to go too deep in there, but I think, just getting them to think and process and, take perspective. There's a great little book. I wish I could remember the name. I'm going to have to send this to you, but it's a take on the Three Little Pigs. It's I think it's called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And it takes the perspective of the wolf. So,
yes, we have that book. Yes, definitely. We have that book. That's a good one. Yeah, I think books and movies offer a great opportunity for that, for the discussion of, looking at all different sides of, okay, well, what would you do if you were in that situation, or how would that make you feel? Definitely a great place for books and movies.
Yeah, I think so. We have a great tool at Boys Town called the SOTUS, right? You know it and I know it. Maybe our people who are watching don't know what SOTUS is, but the SOTUS method is just helping kids solve problems using a step-by-step method. And the SOTUS is an acronym. The S stands for situation, O stands for options, D stands for disadvantages of those options. Okay? The A stands for the advantages of those options, and then the S is the solution. And so when they see things happening on television or on the news, you can take that situation and let's do a SOTUS on that. Okay? What are some other options that we could have for this, Yeah. You could take big issues or you could take small ones. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we're going to come to all the answers.
Okay, I think we're back. Sorry, everybody. We have resumed the broadcast, so hopefully we are set now. I was just saying, I think now on social media, it's important to think about where other people are coming from. Everyone's putting out a lot of content on social media, and there's a lot of arguing and a lot of, which is sad to see, but there's also a lot of, people asking questions and finding out information. And so talking through how you can be helpful in that conversation and help move it forward, I think is really a good social media teaching opportunity right now.
Yeah, and I think, there's, so much, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So on a daily basis, it's social media time. Let's turn it on. Let's not obsess over it and, get ourselves so upset we can't even clean our rooms and wash the dishes or, have fun with our friends. So we don't want kids to get depressed. But, there can be a time that let's turn it on and then let's SOTUS it out. Once you SOTUS, let it go and let's move on to the next thing, right? So I use a little acronym Susie called the ACTION. Awareness, the A stands for awareness. So getting kids to be aware of themselves, aware of the world around them. How can you do that? Well, like you say, social media is one way, looking at the news, defining things for themselves. And then the C stands for consideration, doing acts of consideration, not only for the other people, but for themselves, and being inclusive in that. T stands for taking that perspective that maybe you did not have, seeing it in another way, taking another viewpoint. So doing that on a daily, weekly basis in different activities that you create. Interacting, you can't know people till you know people. And that just might be your neighbor. You never speak to them, you see them. Like today, I didn't speak to I see my neighbor. I live in a circle. So I saw him, I got in my car, and I was like, hello. And he waved back. I was like, okay, this is good.
Made contact, yay.
Yeah. And so, I thought, okay, the steps toward the first, to doing things. And, he's been nice to me. He's come over and help me with snow. And, I've, try to help them out as well. So, having that interaction, because we don't have, especially with the social distancing, has really created this isolation. And so finding opportunities just to, reach out and say hi, on a daily basis, those little bitty things, those little bitty acts of kindness can really help out. So O stands for offer, offering kids the possibility to meet other people, to experience new things as much as you possibly can. And then the N in action stands for, notify folks. No, if you see, tell. If you see something that is wrong and discriminates or is unfair, don't be afraid to tell, Just like anything else, we learned, when we were seeing people like with bags and they're hanging around, we tell them that. Don't be afraid if you see someone be mistreated to say, this is wrong. And you've seen some real great people in the media lately saying, this is wrong, and being not afraid to share that with other people. As long as it's done, in a peaceful way.
Right. And pointing that out to kids, because unfortunately that doesn't get a lot of the attention in the media. So I think the more we can do as parents to point out that good that we see, the better.
Yeah. So I don't see enough bad, but, it's out there. It's definitely there. Yeah. Sometimes it's, when bad things are happening, if we don't share our way, we can find the good. When, 9/11, but we saw some brave people standing up and, helping out and, dealing with that issue that was very hard for us as a country. And now we're facing COVID as well as, some issues with discrimination that we as a people, we can solve this, but we have to be together. We have to have conversations like you and I are having, and not to be afraid to have them. So have those with your kids.
Yeah.
They need you.
No matter how old they are.
No matter. Might not be the same kind of conversation you have with your 15-year-old, but definitely when you read the book and I'm always surprised by young children, how really close they are to seeing truth, being able to recognize it and calling it out and saying, that's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the more we celebrate that, the more they'll hold on to it, I think, and the less likely they are to lose that ability and that skill.
Yeah. Coloring books are great too. If you find some that are diverse or that have other nationalities in them, or encouraging kids to color the picture that isn't there or isn't designed. So it does include others that are not represented. So that can be as simple as coloring, as simple as reading, as simple as watching a show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we've taken a lot of the content that you've helped develop over, several years, and some of the Boy Sound content, and as well as some of the social skills that we've talked about, and we've created an email series called Raising Children to Celebrate Diversity. So It's a 4-week email series, and you kind of get some stuff to work on each week. And the social skills are a great part of that, and it includes a lot of the activities that we've talked about. So I think that's a great. I love to give parents to-dos because we need more of those, don't we? Just kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is good to have some action items, I think, as a parent.
Mhm. No, I agree. It is good to have. I'm glad thanks for sharing that with me, and I'll send that out to all the parents that we work with in our parenting classes that we're
Perfect.
doing now online. And I think that is really cool. If you can give parents some tools, they're willing to use those things with their kids. They want to use them. They're looking for stuff that's out there. So kudos to you guys for making that series, and I definitely will send that out.
Yeah, it just went live. So
Wow.
yes, very happy about that. All right, we got a question in. Actually, more of a comment from Shirley in Maine. Being honest about what I know and what I've been able to learn and change within myself, I've taught them by speaking up. I think that's, very, very similar to what you were saying, Bridget, is take stock of your feelings and any biases that you've got. And I love the being honest with your kids about that.
Yeah. The kids know when you're faking it. They know when you're not so honest with them. So when you're open and honest, as much as you can be, that is going to be really speak values to your children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's some things that you can feel fine to table. Like, let me think about that. Let me talk to your dad about that. Let me, consider that. And then after dinner, we'll talk about that some more.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel like you have the, the ability or the, you're caught off guard, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not sure how to deal with
Yeah.
that.
That's when you just ask them a question back, Bridget. What do you think about it?
I like that.
Yeah.
A question is a question.
Yeah.
I'm liking that technique.
Perfect. Well, we will include a link to that email series here. And Bridget, I will include a link to those books that you shared as well on the Boys on Press, so that if you want to start those conversations, we encourage you to, and those will certainly help.
Great.
Thank you so much, Bridget. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Susie. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.